Well, good morning, students. I hope you're having a great day. Today our topic is something that's very important to me, and that's about animals, and specifically about zoos and why zoos are important for society. Whenever I travel in different cities or even different countries, I enjoy going to zoos. Like when I was in Izmir, Turkey, I enjoyed the zoo there. It was very spacious, it was very clean. I also enjoyed talking to the goat. The goat there was very interesting, and it was very helpful. I talked to the goat about my problems, and it would listen very carefully, so it was nice to talk to the goats and the other animals. In fact, the giraffe, I really enjoyed the giraffe. I asked the giraffe out for a cup of coffee, and she politely said no, but it was really nice to talk to the giraffe. But seriously, I think you'll find zoos to be interesting as we talk about the history and the benefits and how zoos are today. Let's talk a little bit about the history of zoos. The history of zoos go all the way back to ancient China. Thousands of years ago in China, Persia, Egypt, even the Mayans had zoos where the ruling people, the rich people, they had collections of animals for their own personal enjoyment. However, the zoos that we think of today that are open to the public, those began a little more than 200 years ago in Europe. Cities like London, Paris, Madrid, and Dublin all started zoos so that the public had a chance to see some of these wild and exotic animals from around the world. There you see a picture from London Zoo in 1835, where people in England had a chance to see camels, which were very exotic and unusual. Maybe camels are common where you're from, but certainly they weren't for people in Northern Europe. And so zoos became very popular. By the way, the term zoo, it comes from the term zoological park or zoological garden, but zoo is a lot easier to say. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about menageries, which is a word in English that means a wide variety or a wide collection of things, people, or animals. So menageries or zoos is what we're going to talk about today. And when I talk about zoos, I'm not only talking about places for land animals. Zoos today also might include the word aquarium, where people have a chance to see fish or dolphins, even whales. For example, the SeaWorld in Orlando is a place where people can see dolphins. But also Orlando promotes the fact that children, like this boy you see in the picture, he has autism. And they found that children who have a chance to participate or play with dolphins might overcome some of these learning problems or social disabilities. San Diego's Wild Animal Safari Park is also a type of zoo, a little bit different than the zoos of the past. Here you'll see the animals in a much more natural habitat or natural environment from what they're used to, or you see the rhinos and various animals moving more freely than they did in the past where they were put in cages. So as we talk about the aquariums, the safari parks, and the zoos, we're going to talk about how these are beneficial to society, and in four particular ways. One, that they're educational. One, that they have economic benefits for the communities that have the zoos. They provide protection for animals, and they also have breeding programs where they take the boy shark, or the boy whale, and the girl whale, and make the baby whales in breeding programs. Now, a lot of the information I'm going to talk about comes from the Association of Zoos and Animals, and they talk about how zoos are very beneficial in terms of education. They say that in the last 10 years, more than 400,000 school teachers have gotten important lessons from materials that they learned at the zoos. Now, this might also include school trips where children have a chance to firsthand see what kangaroos are like. Of course, you ordinarily have to go to Australia to see a kangaroo, but here a young lady can meet and see what the kangaroos are like in person at the zoo. And also snakes, pretty gross, pretty scary. But sometimes going to a zoo helps children understand that not all snakes are poisonous, that they can be handled without any concern of being in any great danger. So this is something that zoos will teach you. And there was a study in 2009 by the National Research Council that through zoo visits, children have found there's abundant evidence that these programs and visits contribute to children's knowledge of the sciences, especially for underrepresented groups, especially in the American inner cities. Another economic benefit, according to the AZA, is that jobs, tourism, and the support from taxes are all helping the economies of communities. according to the AZA, 140,000 jobs in the United States are created every year and supported by the 223 zoos and aquariums in the United States. This leads to a total of $16 billion being put into the economies of these cities, and that is very, very significant. In all, 80% of Americans today say they have a favorable opinion of zoos and that they support using their tax money to have zoos that are available for the entire community. Another benefit of zoos is that zoos protect hunted animals. Talking about the orangutan, which has been devastated in areas of the world where they have lost their environment or their homes through deforestation. The amount of space for jungles and forests is much smaller, and so zoos provide a safe refuge for some of these animals. Another benefit of these hunted or poached animals, poach means to hunt an animal for a specific thing. There are many unfortunate accounts of poachers hunting the rhinoceros for its special horn. And the zoos do provide a safe place where rhinoceroses are not hunted. And finally, breeding programs for endangered species are another benefit of the zoo. According to the Journal of Zoo Biology, there are 300 pandas in zoos today, compared to only 1,864 pandas alive in total. So that's almost 16% of zoos, 16% of pandas are alive in zoos today. And that's very significant because in China and here in the United States, many zoos are very careful about how we breed pandas so that we do not lose this species on the planet Earth. The other photograph, you might not recognize those rascals. Those are Tasmanian devils. Tasmanian devils are native to Australia. But when Australia became more populated over the past 100 years, many people killed these animals because they're very, very ferocious and can be very dangerous. Unfortunately, all that killing led the Tasmanian devil to be an endangered species. But because of successful breeding programs in Australia, the Tasmanian devil is no longer endangered and is living very well in southern Australia down on the island of Tasmania. And so finally, I want to talk about the 4 reasons why it's important that we support our zoos, because they do benefit society. They benefit in terms of education for children. They benefit in terms of the economy, providing jobs and benefits for people who work in the zoos. Also for providing a safe refuge for wild animals, as well as for successful breeding programs so we don't lose any of these endangered species on our planet. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.